SmackDown took place last night from Portland, Oregon. This was the second SmackDown of 2025, and for international viewers, not in the United States, this was the second official SmackDown on Netflix. So the show started off how I'd expect it to. You had Paul Heyman come out, and just off the bat, I have to say, I felt like this was a much toned down show because Raw was such a big show this week, as was NXT. It was probably the biggest NXT in many years. It was a huge rating for NXT. And also, they had major competition by going up against the college football playoff. So it felt like almost a phone-it-in type of show, a lot of wrestling. And the one thing that really stood out to me was that this was a 2-hour show normally that was extended to 3 hours, and it didn't work at all. I felt that the show dragged on for far too long. Matches just went too long, and it was just such a show that was almost a drag to get through. And I'd be happy because I had Netflix, so I can just fast forward through parts. But yeah, if you watch this live, this show really dragged on for you. But shows in Portland, or still on the West Coast. You have Paul Heyman come out. He talks about what Roman Reigns' goals are. He talks about how Roman Reigns is going to, and this is after he calls out Cody Rhodes. He calls out Cody to tell him that Roman Reigns will be in the Royal Rumble, and he will challenge Cody Rhodes after he wins the Royal Rumble. And of course, this will be at WrestleMania in the main event, and Roman Reigns will reclaim his championship. Now, the whole storyline is Roman wants his belt back. I don't expect Roman Reigns to win the Royal Rumble. He will be in it, but I think likely winners are John Cena, CM Punk, or perhaps even The Rock as the number 31 entrant. But Roman will be in there. It'll be interesting to see what he does at WrestleMania this year. I also don't know what Paul Heyman's promise to CM Punk was after Survivor Series. There's a lot to be discussed. Anyway, for this segment, Kevin Owens comes out through the crowd, calls Cody Rhodes an idiot for shaking Paul Heyman's hand, and he's kind of not wrong there. I was a little disappointed that Kevin didn't bring up The Rock, and why the hell Cody would shake The Rock's hand after he left him in a pool of blood in Chicago in the rain. And why didn't Kevin bring it up? Maybe he didn't want to bring up The Rock right away. Maybe The Rock doesn't want his name mentioned unless he's going to be part of something. But I thought Kevin should have brought that up. Anyway, he insults him, and I think he's right. Most of the stuff he's saying. Cody goes into the crowd to attack him. Then he had Jacob Fatu and Tom and Duncan come in the ring ready to attack Paul Heyman. Jimmy Uso makes a save, but then it's 2-on-1. He gets beat down. They're ready to destroy him with the chair like they did to him in April. But then Cody Rhodes comes back through the crowd, makes the save, and it sets up a match later tonight. But this would not be the first interaction they'd have together. There's a backstage fight with the Bloodline and LA Knight, and it was pretty obvious this was going to come back to haunt LA Knight later in the show. He had the Women's United States Championship on the line as Chelsea Green defended her title against Michin. The match was okay. Chelsea won by rolling up the tights after Michin hit a crossbody on her. And after the match, Michin is going after Chelsea, and of course, she's supposed to be the face. Then Piper Niven comes in and just beats up Michin, so I suppose that's the next match we have next week. It was okay to me. Just an okay match. You had Pretty Deadly against Legado del Fantasma, and this is when the show really dragged on to me, in my opinion, because this is a match that's normally quick. No one wants to see this match because these are two teams that are just not pushed. No one takes them seriously. It's just a nothing match, and it just went on forever. I just didn't care about the match. I didn't care who won. Eventually, Legado del Fantasma won. The only thing I really liked about this match was Elektra Lopez, and that's about it. I really could care less about any of the men in this match. Next, you had the U.S. title match, which was Shinsuke Nakamura and LA Knight, which just was promoted. And this was so disappointing because right when LA Knight got into the fight with the Bloodline, I thought, okay, they're going to interfere. But I just thought they would interfere in a way where they'd cost him the match and he'd lose to Nakamura. I wasn't expecting them to just beat him up and the match is over in a DQ. that was really disappointing. But the match they had, it went on for a while. It was good. It was back and forth. It dragged on. And again, this was a 2-hour show that was extended to 3 hours. So they did a lot of matches just drag on. It set it up, but after the match, after they beat them down, you had Cody Rhodes and Jimmy Uso come out to beat them, to fight off the heels, and it basically set up the tag match. And then that's when Nick Aldis came out and he officially made the tag match for the main event. So it's Cody Rhodes and Jimmy Uso against Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu. You had a Tiffany Stratton video package about her win last week, which was better than anything on this show, I have to say. It was, to be honest, it was better than anything on last show, but that was definitely much more entertaining than what we had here. So you had Motor City Machine Guns against A-Town Down Under. Machine Guns have a cool entrance, I have to say, but the match was just okay. I mean, they just feel like another tag team. It's too bad most of the fans just don't seem to know who they are. That's unfortunate, but the match they had was a solid time. I went to a couple commercials. It just felt like they're just trying to fill 3 hours. That's how I felt a lot of this stuff on here. But it was okay. Machine Guns with the win. Backstage, you had DIY argument pretty deadly because they'd interfere in their match against Legado del Fantasma, and they're going back and forth. I don't know if it sets up a tag match between the two, but that's where it looked like we are heading to. So it is what it is. After that, we went to Tiffany Stratton's celebration, and I have to say, she's a total babyface. She mentions how, and mind you, she's a face, how she set up Nia Jax, and how she never really liked Nia Jax, and she was just setting her up so eventually she can cash in on her when she's vulnerable. And Tiffany's a total face, as I mentioned. She looks great, I have to say. Fans really like Tiffany. They really gravitated to her early when she first made her debut last year, especially in that Elimination Chamber match. They've just been really into her. But her celebration comes, basically ends abruptly when she's interrupted. First it's Nia Jax, and Nia's upset. Then Bayley comes out, and when Bayley came out, I just kind of tuned out. And I hate saying that about her because I used to really like Bayley. But her on TV now, man, it's just, there's nothing to her anymore. I just felt kind of bored when she came out. I was just not into it at all. Then eventually Naomi comes out, and she's the only one who's talking. She has the sidekick. I don't know if you've heard of her. Her name is Bianca Belair. She just seems like such an afterthought right now for whatever reason. I don't understand. I get why they're not doing more with Bianca. I guess they're just going to bring back Jade, and eventually she'll feud with her. I don't think she's the one who attacked Jade, but maybe Jade's going to hold her accountable. I don't know how they're going to do it, but I think they should just be doing more with her because I think she's probably one of the best they have. She's that good. Anyway, eventually they get into a fight, and Tiffany lays out everyone with a prettiest moonsault ever, and she takes all 4 of them. So after she's laid out all 4 of the geeks, Aldis comes out and makes another impromptu match, a fatal 4-way match. And this went on for an eternity. You have Nia Jax, who no one wants to see face Tiffany. Bayley, who I don't think many people want to see face Tiffany. You have Naomi, who everyone knows has no chance in hell of beating Tiffany. And Bianca, who, yeah, I'd like to watch that. But you just know that match should be on a bigger stage. Because that is a big match. Tiffany Stratton and Bianca Belair. Anyway, you get the match. It goes on for an eternity. I just wasn't into it. Anyway, you have Candice LeRae getting involved, and then you have Bianca and Naomi finally face off. I think it's Naomi who attacked Jade, by the way, but maybe I'm wrong. And then you have, near the end of the match, Bianca Belair and Nia Jax have a spot where they both go over the announce table, and then you have Bayley in the ring pinning Naomi with a rose plant in the Rose City, and Bayley will face Tiffany Stratton for the WWE Women's Championship next week on SmackDown. So, yeah, it'll be a good match, I'm sure. Just, I don't need to see Bayley in that match. You have Cody Rhodes and Jimmy Uso backstage. After Cody leaves, you have the loser Carmelo Hayes talking down to Jimmy Uso. Bayley does an interview after her win, and then the match is confirmed next week. And, I don't know what to do. What else is there to do with Bayley at this point? I'm just kind of bored with her. Main events next, Cody Rhodes and Jimmy Uso against Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga. You had Fatu cutting a promo before they preview, when they come back from break, they preview the Royal Rumble matches, and then you had all before the match starts, and then the match was okay. Everyone knows Kevin Owens is going to interfere. And when Kevin came in, it was pretty obvious that the heels would go over here, and they're going to push Jacob. So KO interferes, Cody goes after him, and they have a brawl and throughout the crowd, but we don't see it, and they go backstage. Then you have Jimmy left alone once again. He gets finished off by Jacob Fatu, who hits his moonsault, and it's kind of funny that Jacob Fatu has the exact same finisher as Tiffany Stratton. And who's going to go tell Jacob Fatu you can't do your moonsault anymore because Tiffany Stratton does? I don't think anyone backstage would dare tell him that. Who would want to tell him? Anyway, the heels win. So they go back into the crowd. Cody and KO continue to fight. Eventually, they're on top of a whole bunch of production boxes. And Cody basically, he does a shoulder block to KO. They both go off the boxes and they crash through two tables on the floor on the concrete. And it was basically a nasty bump from Cody because KO falls and then Cody falls on top of him a second later. It looked pretty hard, but both seems to be okay. How I'd explain the show that took place last night in Portland was it was a 2-hour show that was extended to 3 hours. It just did not need to be as long as it did. It was boring in parts. It felt like a filler show. And I don't blame them for taking it easy tonight because Raw was such a big deal. It was one of the biggest Raws of all time. It probably one of the most viewed Raws in many years. NXT was a huge show, did a massive rating, and it was a big show. Not just with The Rock, who obviously is what drew the ratings, but they had big matches on NXT, title match, 2 major title changes. For 2 long-reigning champions, and it was basically felt like almost like an NXT special event. It was bigger than most of them, to be honest. So you come in, and yeah, I get why they want to take it easy on SmackDown, and SmackDown last week was a big show too, so I get it in a way, but it felt like a filler show. If you're watching Raw, if you're watching SmackDown and not in the United States, you have it on Netflix, you can just fast forward through about half of it, to be honest, especially some of those matches that went on too long. But if you were in the US and you missed it, don't worry, you missed nothing. It's a nothing show.